Kamala Harris, vice presidential candidate, and woman Joe Biden is going to call homegirl in less than 3 weeks. One of the major concerns with Brett Kavanaugh is that President Trump might have nominated him specifically because Kavanaugh believes that sitting presidents shouldn't be subpoenaed or indicted. And some people are worried that Kavanaugh might have even made a deal with Trump's personal lawyer, Mark Kasovitz, basically saying, you know, we'll put you on the court if you promise to protect the president from Robert Mueller. Or as Trump would put it, you scratch my back, I'll grab your pussy. Now, we don't know if Kavanaugh actually met with Trump's lawyer, but when California Senator Kamala Harris asked him about it yesterday, Kavanaugh did himself no favors.
Judge, have you ever discussed Special Counsel Mueller or his investigation with anyone?
Well, it's in the news every day.
Have you discussed Mueller or his investigation with anyone at Kasowitz, Benson, and Torres, the law firm founded by Mark Kasowitz, President Trump's personal lawyer? Be sure about your answer, sir.
Well, I'm not remembering, but if you have something you want to...
Are you certain you've not had a conversation with anyone at that law firm?
Kasowitz, Benson. I would like to know the person you're thinking of, because what if there's...
I think you're thinking of someone and you don't want to tell us.
Wow. Kavanaugh did not look good in that exchange. It's like if they asked the suspect at a murder trial, they're like, where were you on the night of the 13th? It's like, where shouldn't I have been? Yeah. Wherever the murder didn't happen, that's where I was.
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm happy to answer a more specific question. But
Male versus female.
there are medical procedures.
I'll repeat the question. Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
Goddamn, Kamala Harris brings it, man. The 2020 presidential election. It's just 652 days away. I know, it feels like 642, but it's really close, guys. And today, another Democrat entered the fray.
Senator Kamala Harris today announced her plans to run for president in 2020. The California Democrat says she plans to fight what she sees as the injustices of the Trump presidency.
Do you have an announcement you'd like to make?
I am running for president of the United States.
Well,
And I'm very excited about it.
I love that one person in the background. Yeah. This is amazing. Kamala Harris is officially running for president. This is big because you realize she is now the third big-name senator running for president, and they're all women. Yeah, which is really cool. It's really cool. You have come out of the gates firing. In fact, Donald Trump apparently said you were the best opening so far. That's what he said. He was like, she was great, so great. Came out firing.
He likes big crowds.
He does, but I mean, if even he was impressed, what do you think you've done right to begin your journey as a presidential candidate for the Democrats?
Well, I think that coming out the gate speaking truth about how America really needs a fighter for truth and justice in this country, which are right now under attack. Truth and justice are under attack. I think it's about also fighting for the opportunity in America that's lost for so many people. But coming out of the gate in Oakland, California, the place of my birth, and talking about the fact that we are better than this as a country. And I think we all know that, and we want folks who are going to fight for the best of who we are. So it's been a good beginning, it's been a strong beginning, and I hope to continue on this path.
That's exciting. It's an exciting journey. It's an exciting beginning. Since this is the beginning, and you know, I read the book and I've learned so much about you now, there are so many things that people do want to know about you. I think the most important is, how do people pronounce your name? Because people argue about this all the time. Is it Harris or is it Harris?
It's Harris.
No, but seriously, everyone goes like, is it Kamala or is it Kamala or is it
Kamala. Just think of a comma and then add a la.
Kamala.
There you go. Kamala.
I like that.
There you are.
It's like long A. And what I didn't know from the book is that you grew up in a household where, for the most part of your life, you were raised by a single mother who is Indian, but she raised you in Black America.
Yes.
You went to civil rights speeches, you went to marches with her. Has that shaped a lot of how you see the world, growing up in a household where you were in a Black community, but at the same time had multiple cultural influences?
Well, sure. I mean, you and I were both raised by very strong mothers. You
Right.
know, my mother was all of 5 feet tall, but after meeting her, you would have thought she was 7 feet tall.
Right.
And my mother was one of the smartest, the toughest, and the most loving people I've ever known. And she was a fighter. She was a breast cancer researcher. She had 2 goals in her life: to raise her 2 daughters and end breast cancer.
Wow.
And she would take us to the lab with her on the weekends and after work, and her whole vision of life, and I adopted that vision, was of what can be, unburdened by what has been. Knowing what can be in a way that we improve human condition, and seeing, even though we have not seen it before, seeing the potential in human beings and in our future. And that's how our mother raised us. And she was active in the civil rights movement. That's where my parents met. You know, we joke that we grew up surrounded by a bunch of adults who spent full-time marching and shouting.
Right.
About this thing called justice. And my mother knew that she was raising her 2 daughters into a world that would present obstacles and would not necessarily get us, but my mother raised us to understand, and she would say, don't you let anyone tell you who you are, you tell them who you are.
Wow.
And
I always wondered. I mean, I know that you love your country, and I know that there is oftentimes a call that people feel to ascribe to a larger goal. You know, I want to be president. I want to be that. But why did you want to get into this line of work? I mean, you know, to have a mom who's trying to cure breast cancer, and you go, no, I want to go into being a district attorney. I want to go into public office. Why?
Well, when I was growing up in that environment, it was a very rich environment. It was an active environment. And the heroes in the civil rights movement, among many, were the lawyers. It was Thurgood Marshall and Charles Hamilton Houston and Constance Baker Motley, and these individuals who understood the skill of the profession of law to translate the passion from the streets to the courtrooms of our country. And do that work of reminding folks, and we know it must continually be done, reminding folks of the promise we articulated in 1776, that we are all and should be treated as equals. And so I decided that's the work I wanted to do, that was noble, important work, and I went to law school. And then out of law school, I made the decision to become a prosecutor.
That's right, people. Joe Biden has officially picked Kamala Harris to be his running mate. Say what you want about Joe, but the man went Black, and he's not going back. And I gotta say, I'm impressed that Biden picked Kamala even after she destroyed him at that debate. In fact, part of me thinks he only picked her so that she can just never dust his ass in public again. This isn't a VP pick, it's an insurance policy. And I'm really interested to see what the Trump campaign's line of attack is gonna be on Kamala. Because they're gonna have a tough time. Everything she's done in her career appeals to Trump's base. Crafty Kamala spent her whole career locking up criminals and filling up California's jails. She's even friends with cops. Hold on, that actually sounds pretty cool. Mike, is it too late to change you? But jokes aside, congratulations to Kamala Harris. She is now the first Black woman on a major party ticket, which is a great moment for her and for America. Most of us are familiar with Kamala Harris, the senator and presidential candidate. But you may be surprised to find out that, like many of us, she started out as a child.
She's the daughter of immigrants, a father from Jamaica and a mother from southern India. both active in the civil rights era.
Harris was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools.
She did her undergrad at Howard, which makes her the first historically black colleges and universities grad on a major ticket.
Harris is passionate about cooking. In fact, people in the LA area may have heard Harris calling into cooking shows.
My entire childhood was pretty much spent in the kitchen. As this roasts, this is all going to just get fragrant. Bring it around the legs. Tie that little bad boy up. There's our chicken.
Yes, the daughter of immigrants, an HBCU graduate, and on top of it all, a pretty damn good cook. Which means if she wins, that's going to be a really big change for the kitchen at the VP residence. I mean, Kamala will be in there making delicious Jamaican and Indian food. Meanwhile, Mike Pence doesn't even have a spice cabinet because, as he puts it, spice is the anal sex of flavor. And just by the way, isn't it funny that every election the Democrats are putting together the most diverse tickets that they can? Like, what about a black man who's half Kenyan? Or how about a woman who's black and Indian? Meanwhile, the Republicans are over here like, okay, look, I know we've got a white guy on the ticket, but what if we could find a guy who's even whiter? Pack your bags, Billy. We're going to Indiana. So, after graduating from Howard University, Harris returned to California to get her law degree. Throughout the 1990s, she built a solid career as a prosecutor, and then in 2003, she made her move into the public eye.
38-year-old Kamala Harris came out of nowhere, and as she did, she made history. She's the first woman ever to be San Francisco's district attorney, and she is the first African-American woman in such a job ever in the state of California.
Kamala Harris has received praise for creating innovative programs to reduce crime and prevent repeat offenders.
Harris is the first female, first African-American, and the first Asian-American Attorney General in California.
Newsweek calls her one of the most powerful women in America, and she proved it this month when she successfully pushed through a first-of-its-kind homeowner Bill of Rights.
Kamala Harris is already making history. She is called by some observers the female Barack Obama.
Okay, can I just put in a request that we stop calling every successful black politician the next Barack Obama, or the female Barack Obama, or the sleeping Barack Obama? Everyone's got their own name, and everyone's got their own story. I mean, like Kamala. Basically, in every job she had, she made history. First black female DA in California. First female and first black attorney general in California. First South Asian senator in all of America. Which says a lot of great things about her, and also says a lot of not so great things about society. Because, I mean, black women could have been doing these jobs the whole time. You know, it's not like in 2011, black women suddenly got an upgrade that made them fit for office. Oh, hey, they released Black Woman 3.0. They can be Attorney General now. Now, on the one hand, being California's district attorney 20 years ago is what made Kamala Harris a star. But a lot has changed in that 20 years. And some of the things she did at the time are a little less popular with many of today's Democrats.
Kamala Harris is defending her record as a prosecutor that some activists see as being pro-law enforcement at the expense of civil rights.
Progressives say Harris was not progressive enough, failing to seek justice for the wrongfully imprisoned.
Contributing, as prosecutor, to the mass incarceration of black men.
Criticized in a lot of communities for not using the full power of her office to investigate police shootings.
Critics are questioning some of her policies, which they say worked against black families, including a crackdown on parents whose children were truant.
So I sent a letter out on my letterhead to every parent in the school district. This was a little controversial in San Francisco. A friend of mine actually called me and he said, Kamala, my wife got the letter. She freaked out. She brought all the kids into the living room, held up the letter, said, if you don't go to school, Kamala's going to put you and me in jail. Yes, we achieved intended effect.
That's not a good look. Threatening to send parents and their kids to jail for skipping school? I mean, I get that you wanted kids to get an education, but there must have been better ways to keep them in class. Like, why not just tell kids that if they go to school every day, they can get an education that will help them get a good job so that they can advance in society? You know, lie to them. What I really want to know is, how did this program work? Like, would the parents and kids go to jail together? Like, would they share a jail cell? Would they join the same gang? Would they get matching tattoos? Hello, Will Smith. I've got another idea for a really dope TV show. Hello? Now, to be fair, since Harris was elected to the US Senate in 2016, her views have moved closer to those of modern progressives. She's called for overhauling the prison system, introduced a bail reform bill, and tried to decriminalize weed. But one of the things that has people most excited about seeing Kamala Harris as VP is her long history of grilling Republicans on live national television.
California's junior senator is notable both in biography and her 2-year tenure in the Senate. Supporters hail Harris's rapid-fire questioning.
Senator Harris being possibly the best prosecutor the Senate has ever seen.
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
Has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't.
Yes or no?
Senator, I'm very sensitive about time, and I'd like to have a very lengthy conversation and explain that all to you. I tried to do that.
Can you give me a yes or no answer,
in the closed briefing? Well, it's not a short answer, Senator. The answer
it is either you are willing to do that or not. So when they're instructed. Excuse me, I'm asking the questions. I do want you to be honest.
I'm not able to be rushed this fast. It makes me nervous.
And when I get nervous, I start pooping gold coins. But yeah, Kamala Harris doesn't mess around, man. When she's asking you questions, you're going to answer those questions. I just hope she knows how to turn it off when she's vice president, you know? She doesn't want to be at a state funeral like, I am so sorry about your husband. Where were you on the night he died? So that's Kamala Harris, prosecutor, senator, and now VP candidate. And who knows where she'll go from here? I mean, at this rate, one day they might be calling Barack Obama the previous Kamala Harris. Wait, does that make sense? After it was announced that she would be Biden's running mate, many people were celebrating the historic milestone of having a black and South Asian woman on a major party ticket. Although, as you might expect, President Trump had a slightly different take.
Reaction was quick at the White House, where President Trump used his daily coronavirus briefing to bash Biden's choice.
She was extraordinarily nasty to Kavanaugh, Judge Kavanaugh then, now Justice Kavanaugh. I thought she was the meanest, the most horrible, most disrespectful of anybody in the U.S. Senate.
Despite claiming he wanted Biden to pick Harris, President Trump says he's surprised Biden actually did after that heated primary debate.
She was probably nastier than even Pocahontas to Joe Biden. She was very disrespectful to Joe Biden. She said things during the debates, during the Democrat primary debates, that were horrible about Sleepy Joe, and I would think that he wouldn't have picked.
Yeah, she was so horrible to Sleepy Joe. And that loser deserves so much more respect than that. Like, is Trump attacking or defending Joe Biden? I can't tell. You know, I thought this election would be Trump versus Joe Biden. Now I think we could just lock Trump in a room and let him hash it out by himself. What did me say to me? Me heard me. I mean, of all people, Donald Trump should totally understand how you can be with a woman who's publicly humiliated you. He also shouldn't be surprised that past enemies can become your friends. I mean, look who he's been working with. Ted Cruz, who called him a pathological liar and a narcissist. Lindsey Graham, who said he was a bigot and a nutjob who was destroying the Republican Party. Marco Rubio, who called him a con artist and said he had a small dick. And of course, Jared Kushner, who selfishly married the love of Trump's life. That's right, man. We ain't never gonna forget. If anything, Kamala Harris on the ticket with Joe Biden is a genius move by the former VP. Because not only does she tick a bunch of boxes, but clearly conservatives are going to struggle to put her in one.
Joe Biden is running on the most radical platform of any candidate from any major party in U.S. history. Now with the most radical running mate ever.
She doesn't really have core beliefs.
Her record as Attorney General is absolutely abysmal by fighting to keep inmates locked up in overcrowded prisons.
As a prosecutor in San Francisco, she allowed, well, scores of violent criminals to walk free.
Did you know that Kamala Harris has a higher rating
from the Police Association in 2019 than from the ACLU.
She is soft on crime. She is no friend of the police.
Harris clearly wasn't picked for her personal charm.
She's very telegenic. I get that. The media will say she's very hip.
I think that the pick was somewhat surprising.
I think it was a kind of a boring pick. I think everybody was expecting Biden to pick Kamala.
Oh, man. Poor Republicans. They're so confused. Kamala is like their version of that green needle brainstorm meme. Honestly, it's kind of cute watching Republicans flail around, trying to figure out the right talking points. You know, it's like when a litter of puppies is born, but they haven't opened their eyes yet. And look, they better figure this shit out soon, or else their attack ads are gonna be really unconvincing.
Joe Biden has picked Kamala Harris. But who is Kamala Harris? She hates the police. Except for the times that she loves the police. She's also soft on drug crime, but is too tough on drug crime sometimes. She's black, but also Indian. Is that even allowed? Kamala Harris. We haven't decided why she's bad yet, but we already paid for this ad.
I'm Donald Trump, and I'm confused by this message.